In the bustling heart of Chicago, Raymond Caldwell was a man who had everything: fame, fortune, and a penthouse view of Lake Michigan. But none of that mattered now. His 8-year-old son Ethan was lying in a hospital bed, barely holding on to life. Doctors were baffled. His condition had no name, no cure. Every treatment had failed. Raymond had spent millions, but he couldn't buy hope. One chilly October evening, after another long day at St. Mary's Children's Hospital, Raymond sat in his luxury SUV, stuck in traffic near the South Side. His driver had taken a detour, and Raymond barely noticed the streets growing rougher, the sidewalks cracked, the air colder. That's when he saw her. A young black girl, maybe 13 or 14, stood on the corner near a shuttered laundromat. Her jeans were torn, her hoodie too thin for the cold, but her eyes, dark, intense, and steady, locked onto his. She held up a piece of cardboard. No scribbled plea for money, no desperate cry for help. It read, "Feed me and I'll heal him." Raymond scoffed. A street kid playing games. He looked away, irritated. But something about her, that stillness, that quiet confidence, it lingered in his mind. Back at the hospital, Ethan had grown worse. He no longer responded to voices. His skin felt cold. Machines kept him alive, but nothing else. Raymond, once a man who commanded rooms with his voice, now sat in silence beside his son, begging for any sign of life. 2 days passed, and then he returned to that corner. To his shock, the girl was still there, same spot, same cardboard sign, same calm eyes. He stepped out of the SUV, holding a warm meal he'd grabbed from a diner. "Here," he said, handing it to her. She took it slowly, closed her eyes, then whispered, "Take me to him." Raymond hesitated. "Who are you?" She didn't answer, just repeated, "You fed me. Now let me feed his soul." It made no sense. Yet something inside Raymond, beyond logic, beyond reason, told him to listen. He nodded. She followed him silently into the car. He didn't know her name, didn't know what she believed in. But in a world of failing science and dying hope, this barefoot girl from a broken corner of Chicago was his last chance. The hospital staff at St. Mary's stared in confusion as Raymond walked in with the barefoot girl by his side. She didn't look like a doctor. She didn't carry a bag, wear a badge, or even speak. Just walked silently, clutching nothing but quiet confidence. Raymond turned to the head nurse. 10 minutes, he said firmly. That's all I ask. Inside the ICU room, machines beeped and buzzed. Ethan lay unconscious, his skin pale, lips slightly blue. The monitors had barely moved in days. The girl stepped to his bedside. No hesitation, no questions. She placed one hand gently on Ethan's forehead and closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she began to hum. It wasn't a tune anyone recognized, soft, low, and full of something ancient. It filled the room like smoke, slow and strange. Calmer, warmer, Raymond watched, heart pounding. The monitors began to shift, slowly, then faster. Beep, beep, beep. Ethan's hand twitched. Then a whisper, "Daddy." Raymond's heart nearly stopped. Ethan opened his eyes. A doctor rushed in, followed by 2 nurses. "This isn't possible," one murmured. His brain activity was nearly gone. This shouldn't be happening. But it was. Ethan sat up. The girl stepped back, silent. Her eyes didn't glow, but there was something in them, stillness, strength, peace. She turned toward the door. "Wait," Raymond said, voice shaking.
Who are you?"
She paused and gave him the smallest smile. Just someone who was hungry and believed. Then she walked out. By the time Raymond reached the hallway, she was gone. No one saw her leave. No cameras, no records. As if she'd never been there at all. In the days that followed, Ethan continued to improve. Doctors called it a spontaneous recovery, a medical mystery. They ran every test imaginable, but no one could explain it. Raymond didn't try. Instead, every October, he returns to that same street corner on the South Side, leaves a hot meal on a bench, just in case she ever comes back. Not for more healing, but to say thank you. Because Raymond now knows sometimes the greatest miracles come not from science, but from the ones we refuse to see.